ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Beatdowns with the Boz. This week, I bring you the fearsome Bant Humans deck. This is what I think is one of the best and recently one of the most successful aggro decks in the format. It is a 3-color deck, so the mana is a little sketchy, but I have a pretty unique take on the mana base this week with a mana base that is a lot more focused on basic lands. You'll see some of the versions play some different lands, but in this version, I have the best chance of having them all come to play untapped. So you get to curve out as well as possible. And then what you're curving into is a bunch of human creatures that all have some sort of utility and effect, having them all get pumped by Thalia's Lieutenant and flooding the board with Collected Company. Thraben Inspector ends up just being a free body that lets you draw into more action. Duskwatch Recruiter is also a bit of a card advantage engine if it lives. Lambholt Pacifist, just a very, very heavy hitting creature. Thalia's Lieutenant is one of the cornerstones of the deck. This is the reason that you get paid off for the human theme. And sometimes Thalia's Lieutenant honestly just gets completely out of control. Like sometimes you'll be up against a ramp deck and they'll have a World Breaker and your Thalia's Lieutenant will be an 8/8. It's like no big deal. Tireless Tracker, also a great source of card advantage and also a card that can just get completely huge, completely out of hand. Reflector Mage is just one of the best tempo plays in the format. Reflector Mage plus Collected Company means that it's really hard for a deck to get underneath you, and your tempo is just going to be off the charts. Knight of the White Orchid does a lot in my particular version of the deck because I'm actually using Knight of the White Orchid also for its mana fixing properties. You can get Canopy Vista and Prairie Stream with Knight of the White Orchid, so it ends up playing a quite the pivotal role in this deck. So it's a mix of tempo elements with combo elements. So you get to have fast pressure, put your opponent on the back foot, and then you just never run out of gas. That's one of the great things about this deck. Dromoka's Command is the only removal spell I'm playing main. Because you have Collected Company in the deck, you really want to have as many Collected Company hits as possible. So you're really relying on Reflector Mage and Dromoka's Command to clear blockers, and then cards like Thalia's Lieutenant, Tireless Tracker, or Lambholt Pacifist by just overpowering your opponent. On the sideboard, I basically have it broken into 2 columns here. The left column right here is are the anti-control cards. When you're up against Kalidas and Dragonlord Silumgar, you want your removal spells to be cards like Stasis Snare and Quarantine Field rather than Dromoka's Command. Negate also is a great card for when you're fighting control decks. And then when you're up against a really aggressive deck, such as the Mono White Humans deck, which is really one of the only decks that can actually get underneath this deck, you have Ojutai's Command, which ends up being an absolutely great card in this deck. A lot of people will play one of them in the main deck, but the return target creature card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield is particularly great because an end of turn Thalia's Lieutenant or using it inside of combat can just be absolutely monumental impact to the board. Tragic Arrogance, great for catching up from behind. Nissa, Vastwood, Seer, it's kind of like adding a land to your deck, except for it's a land that can get hit off Collected Company and just ensures you have more action in the early game as well as more card advantage in the late game. Nissa, Vastwood, Seer is just a phenomenal card. And then Archangel Avacyn also does a lot because it allows you to more easily play it at flash speed with Ojutai's Command. And also Avacyn, when you're up against the Mono White Humans deck, you have to worry about them just continually equipping a Griff Spoon to a creature and then killing you in the air. And Avacyn helps hold the air, helps you turn the corner, and it's not, even though you can't sacrifice something as easily as you can in the green-white tokens deck, you can still flip Avacyn when you need to. So that's basically the deck. It's really fast, really strong, doesn't run out of gas. It's fairly consistent, just all around great deck, and we should have some good games tonight, so I'm looking forward to it.